currently in the NFC, a lot of the teams that people thought would be powerhouses like the Rams, Packers, Buccaneers, and 49ers have been struggling. They're all 3-3 right now, I believe. The Rams are 3-3, the Packers are 3-3, the Bucs are, and the Niners are as well. Who's more likely to figure it out, and what are their issues? I guess we'll start with the Rams, or the first name I mentioned. What's been the Rams' biggest issue, and is there any optimism for them figuring it out?
The Rams, I don't think, can figure out their issues. For me, it's twofold. One, the offensive line. We saw it from week one off jump. I don't think I took into account how big the loss of Andrew Whitworth was going to be. He's doing a great job on Amazon, by the way. Shout out to him. But this offensive line's in shambles. They just lost No Boom for the year as well, so it's going to take another step back, I'm assuming. And the run game. They're not able to run the ball. They are the least effective rushing offense in the NFL. This offense right now is very comparable to Jared Goff in the Rams offense in 2020. When everyone blamed Jared Goff for him struggling, that's the reason they went out and traded for Matt Stafford. Goff still put up a decent statistical year, but in actuality, it was because the offensive line couldn't block, and it's because they couldn't run the ball. We saw in 2021, the offensive line got better. They were able to run the ball a little bit. They go and win a Super Bowl. So right now, not having that run game at all, Cam Akers wants out as well. Not that he's been good. You saw my tweet?
I did.
Not that he's been good by any means, but he has not been able to do anything. He is, I want to say, the least efficient running back in all of the NFL. Darrell Henderson hasn't been able to get it going either. I don't think it's fixable. The NFC being as bad as it is, I still think they could sneak into the playoffs, but this offense right now is ugly, and Matt Stafford, he can't do it by himself. Him and Cooper Kupp is not enough right now to figure this out.
You said a lot of good things. And just to briefly talk about all three teams, starting with the Rams, they're a complete shell from what they were last year. You know, last year they were a dominant team. They did their things. Their offensive line is bad. It's still very Cooper Kupp reliant. Allen Robinson, he did have a good game the other day, but it's still, I don't expect that to happen for the season.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to be, like you said, they're going to sneak into the playoffs if they can, but a lot of this isn't on Matt Stafford. For the Bucs, oh, man, you would think they should be the best team in the NFC, or they look like they should be on paper the best team in the NFC. They have the weapons. But if you think about it, the team has been banged up with a lot of injuries. Tom Brady, he's been struggling a little bit. Offensively, they haven't been able to get it going. But I think that's the one team. I tried to put it down at the same time. I think that's the one team out of all these three teams that I probably trust the most. You know, I think because Green Bay, their weapons aren't going to get any better. I don't think Odell is going there if he had the opportunity. I think he'll either go to the Bills or maybe the Rams, but I don't think he's actually going to Green Bay. I think with the Bucs, you have Tom Brady, you have Chris Godwin, you have Mike Evans, you have guys on the defensive end. They have shown the ability to fix things mid-season or get it going. I think that's the one team you can trust as with Green Bay. Offensively, they're just not going to get any better. Aaron Rodgers is doing as much as he can, but I don't think they're good enough to get it done.
The only two teams out of all of them that I see have a chance to figure it out are the Bucs and the Niners. That's really it.
Oh, the Niners in here?
Yeah,
I didn't hear Niners.
They're 3-3 as well.
Oh, I did not know the Niners were part of this.
I thought it was Bucs, Packers, Rams.
Yeah, I put it in last minute. Sorry about that.
Wow. Yeah, sick.
The Rams, to me, the offensive line is a big issue, and that was with Joseph Noteboom in the lineup. He's now out for the year, unfortunately. Cam Akers, I don't know what's happening with that situation. He wasn't good for them regardless, but that can't help them in any way. Matthew Stafford is pressing. He is. He's a turnover machine. He was that last year. He has seasons where he has great ones, and he has some where he has down ones, and I think this is one of his down ones. He's also dealing with an elbow injury that I think is probably still lingering on. The defense is also not amazing. They lack another edge rusher opposite of Leonard Floyd. They lack another corner opposite of Jalen Ramsey. I just don't see how the Rams stack up to any team that has a good defensive line. Any team that has a defensive line can beat the Rams pretty easily, in my opinion. The Packers, their defense has been the most disappointing thing about them this season. I think the offense has been bad, but we expected the offense to drop off without a top-end wide receiver. We thought the elite defense would hold them over, and that's not been the case. The defense has been mediocre. It's one of the worst against the run. And their offense, they just can't create any explosive plays because they lack explosive playmakers. The 49ers, right now for them, the biggest issues is just injuries. I think they have a bunch of injuries right now. And, of course, Jimmy Garoppolo limits your ceiling as a team for the most part because he's not a great quarterback. But I still think they can figure it out just because I trust Kyle Shanahan. I trust that defense being one of the top ones in the league. And the Buccaneers, to me, in 2020 when Brady first went there, I was sold on them winning it all. 2021, I wasn't bought in on them. And this year, I'm not bought in on them. There just isn't this spark with the Bucs anymore. There's not this spark. The allure of Tom Brady being there, I think, has kind of worn off on this team. And the change from Bruce Arians to Todd Bowles and now Byron Leftwich taking control of the offense, I think has shown because the offense is lethargic, it's slow, it's non-creative. And Tom Brady, he's still an excellent quarterback. But when he's won, he's had some of the most help of any quarterback in the NFL. And I think with the Bucs right now, that's not the case. The offensive line is vulnerable. The secondary is vulnerable. This team is, you look at their defense, Shaq Barrett is great, but is he elite? Is he Crosby? Is he Khalil Mack? Is he those top-end guys? He's not. The Bucs have a great defensive front collectively, but there isn't one sole game changer on it. And I think with the Bucs, it's just they have the talent to figure it out, but just with the evidence they provided, they always get injured at the worst time.
Yeah.
They don't stay healthy. Todd Bowles as a coach, his clock management, the Byron Leftwich calling the plays, there's just too many things that I think aren't working their way, and that's why I'm not too confident in them. But because of the talent, that's the only reason why you kind of had to respect it a little bit. But ultimately, all these teams that were top of the NFC last year, they aren't this year, and they're being taken over by teams like the Cowboys, like the Eagles,
Giants.
like the Vikings, like the Giants, like all these other teams that, playing okay. There's a brand new fantasy app. It's called Boom Fantasy. You got over-unders, player props. You got matchups. This player versus that player. That's personally my favorite. And long shots. You can win 40 times your money. And if I'm not mistaken, Joel, NBA is coming soon.
Yes, sir. NBA will be in the app in the next 10 days or so. Wow. I believe opening night is October 19th, so we'll have stuff up a few days beforehand. That's going to be fun because we have it every night. You don't have to wait till Monday, Thursday.
Did you get your code? The League Pass?
I did get my code for League Pass.
I got my code too.
Yep, that's amazing.
That's from 2K, right?
Yes.
That's tough.
Amazing.
That's fire.
So if you guys haven't already, download the Boom Fantasy app right now. Link is in our description or in the caption wherever you're watching.
So who's your two teams that you trust in?
The 49ers and Bucs.
Yeah, the Bucs are the standout because I didn't know the 49ers were on this list because of the talent. But I think the Bucs' biggest issue, there's a few, but this is the least locked in Tom Brady's probably ever been his career, right? This happened in training camp when he stepped away for 10 days. And, obviously this news with Giselle, him getting a divorce, not that has anything to do with anything on the field, but obviously it's impacted him. Last year he was borderline MVP playing. This year he's having a down for Tom Brady standards, having a down year without a doubt. He is not playing the type of level we expect him to play. And I think the most surprising thing about the Packers, offensively at least, is coming into the year, we knew the wide receivers were lacking, right? Allen Lazard is starting off pretty good. Romeo Doubs has had some moments. Christian Watson has had some moments, but for the most part been disappointing through the first 6 weeks of the season. But their pass catcher, their running backs, they haven't been utilized. A.J. Dillon's snap share has gone down. And then Aaron Jones, who is probably their best offensive weapon, is averaging 4 targets per game, 3 receptions, and 20 yards. Matt LaFleur, who we thought was one of the better offensive play callers, one of the more creative guys in the league. Look what Dable is doing with Saquon Barkley. He's constantly getting him the ball, whether it's in the passing game, in Wildcat, or just handing the ball off. On the other side, Aaron Jones has not been able to do anything. No, he is easily your most explosive weapon on offense. He showed in the playoffs last year how great he is as a receiver, and LaFleur has not got him involved at all. If they want to spark this offense, I think it has to be around Aaron Jones and also getting A.J. Dillon involved in the rushing attack as well. Because right now, relying on Allen Lazard and Romeo Doubs to be winning consistently on the outside, you're not going to be able to go very far with that. Aaron Jones creates a lot of mismatches, especially if he's on the backfield lining up against linebackers. He's way too fast and shifty. He's going to be able to beat those guys without a problem. So I think for the Packers to get things going on offense is to get him going. And then defensively, I still think they have the talent to be a really good defensive team. They just haven't stepped up to it right now. So if I had to pick out of these 4, I would put the Niners, but I don't have anything for them. But the Bucs have the talent. They have Tom Brady, who obviously has done it time after time. The Rams, I don't feel good about, and the Packers, I don't feel good about.
I just think when looking at the Packers, you look at when LaFleur took over, which was 2019, I believe, or 2020?
2020.
2020?
Let me look at his record real quick as a coach. And then
I think it was 19 because McCarthy sat out 2020 and then came back 2021.
What a noob.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he took over in 2019.
Yeah, I think so. I think he did as well.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure because, okay, he took over in 2019. So when we look at his drafts, 2019, I'm just going to go through the first 3 picks of each draft. Rashawn Gary.
Great
This
pick.
is the Packers draft picks, first 3 draft picks in 2019. Rashawn Gary, Darnell Savage, Elton Jenkins. A+ draft.
Amazing.
2020, Jordan Love,
Yep.
A.J. Dillon, Josiah DeGuara.
2 backups.
This is probably an F,
Yeah.
right? This is an F.
Well, for you, it could be an A.
It's an F.
Yeah.
Jordan Love.
They needed a receiver and a stacked receiver
T. Higgins
class.
was there.
Yeah. And A.J.
Sheesh.
Dillon was a reach at the time.
Missing T is tough.
2021, Eric Stokes, Josh Myers, Amari Rodgers.
Rodgers hasn't done anything.
It's like a B.
Stokes
it's like
is
a
good.
B.
So,
Stokes is good.
solid,
Josh
yeah.
Myers is
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
So
solid.
I say
B
it's a
minus.
B. And then this past draft, Quay Walker, Devontae White, Christian Watson. Still a wait and see, but with Christian Watson, he was drafted over George Pickens, Alec Pierce, who looks better.
They traded up to get him. They traded up way high in the second round. I think 34 overall, maybe something like that.
With
I think it was actually 33.
With the Packers, the thing about teams that already have a lot of their money tied into big-time players, you have to hit on the draft.
Absolutely.
And the Packers have hit on a draft and a half in the Matt LaFleur tenure. The biggest whiff was 2020. That was the biggest whiff. But it's the fact that I understand Quay Walker, Devontae White. Okay, I understand those picks. But when you clearly have a need, which the Packers' biggest need has been wide receiver, and their offensive line has been getting more hurt and hurt over the past couple of years, they should have allocated these draft resources on those players, and they didn't. And I feel like right now what we're seeing with the Packers, the lack of offensive explosion. Is it coaching? Is it play calling? Yes. But to a degree, you have to take into account that there isn't much a coach can do if the talent isn't there and you don't have explosive playmakers. And ultimately, the Packers lack playmakers. And that's why their offense looks like complete garbage. We thought the defense would be way better. It's been disappointing, and they haven't even been facing high-level teams to this point. So to this point, Quay Walker, Devontae White don't look like awesome, amazing picks. Maybe they could have drafted Tyler Linderbaum or, a center or another receiver, but they didn't. And I think what we're seeing with the Packers is a combination of lack of offensive weapons due to poor drafting over the years and not hitting on players. And not every team hits on players, but for the most part, we see it with the big-time teams.
Yep.
I think Matt LaFleur, especially in this NFC North, that for the most part has been a dumpster fire, right? Like Detroit has been terrible for years, Chicago and Minnesota, who has been competitive at least, but for the most part haven't been competing for the division. Now you have Minnesota sitting at 5-1. You have Detroit, who has showed some promise, at least the most promise they have over the last 5 years. Chicago's still a bit of a mess, but I think if this division starts getting better too, like those gimme games aren't going to be gimme games anymore. And Matt LaFleur really hasn't shown, like especially in the playoffs, to beat that top level of competition. But I don't want to just completely their receivers aren't good, right? But Lazard has showed you something this year. Christian Watson was a high second-round pick. He has explosive ability. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been able to trust him. Romeo Doubs looked great against the Bucs. All of these receivers have had moments. And if you have someone as good as Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, who has shown moments of being a good head coach, being a good play caller, I would like this offense to be a little bit more consistent. If we see the Giants offense being consistent, why can't the Packers offense be consistent? I'm not saying to be a top 5 or top 10 offense in the league, but at least be able to put up points. I mean, they've struggled back-to-back weeks. I know they put up more than 20 against the Giants, but this past week against the Jets, they couldn't do anything. I know our defense is good, but you have Aaron Rodgers. You have some weapons around them. The offensive line isn't in shambles, so I don't want to sit here and just be like, they don't have any talent, right? They have pieces. They have guys that have showed you to do something at some point this season, but with Rodgers on the floor, they haven't been able to put it all together and really show that they could be one of the better offenses in the league.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that even if everything goes right, the talent allows for little room for error. You can't have mistakes.
No.
And ultimately, a
But
drop.
Rodgers doesn't make mistakes.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, it would look a lot better if the defense was where it should be.
I agree.
The way the
For sure.
Packers have to win is by running the ball at an elite level and playing great defense. And right now they're doing
what the
neither of
Giants are
those
doing.
things. Exactly.
But they have
And-
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and the Packers are not doing that.
Yeah.